The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, and that the police must have a warrant before conducting a search. And this week we meet once again to discuss another exception to the rule. Is it me, or does it seem like there are way too many exceptions? The one this week is the plain view doctrine. The Supreme Court case Arizona versus Hicks is the case that you need to know in order to understand the plain view doctrine. And you'll be surprised that it was authored by Justice Scalia, and you'll be surprised about the outcome of the case. Here's what happened in the case. An individual gets injured because a bullet goes through his ceiling and hits him down below.
Wow.
Now the officers respond to the apartment above. They're looking for a shooter, victims, and firearms. So when they walk in, that's exactly what they find. They find Mr. Hicks and a number of firearms in his apartment. Now, as the officers are conducting the search, one of them notices that there are two turntables at the apartment. Now, when I read the case, I instantly became interested in these turntables. I have a nice selection of records in my house and a nice record player to play those on. Now, the officer also became interested in the turntables, but for other reasons. He thought that they might be stolen because they didn't fit in the apartment. They were just too expensive for it.
One of the policemen, Officer Nelson, noticed two sets of expensive stereo components which seemed out of place in what was otherwise an ill-appointed apartment.
So what does the officer do? He decides to write down the serial numbers of the equipment. But he can't just write it down. He has to physically move the equipment in order to get the serial numbers. Because remember, some of those numbers are on the back, sometimes they're on the bottom of the equipment. So he physically moves the items, writes down the serial numbers, and then tries to see if those numbers are in fact those pertaining to stolen items in his own database. Under the plain view doctrine, the police are allowed to seize evidence without a warrant, but under special circumstances. For example, if the officers are conducting and executing a valid search warrant, they might come across items that are not listed in their warrant. But if they're incriminating on their face, they're allowed to seize those items. But of course, turntables, there's nothing incriminating about the turntables on their face. So the question becomes, was turning the tables upside down, trying to get serial numbers, was that a seizure or was that a search? And if either of those, do we need a search warrant? Justice Scalia tells us right away that this is not a seizure. Of course, it is the first step of seizing the item. You're moving it, you're turning it around, looking at it. But at the end of the day, it was not a seizure. So was this a search? Yes, by moving and inspecting the turntables, this was in fact a search. So what was the officer supposed to do? Justice Scalia tells us that he was supposed to have probable cause before he could search and seize the item under the plain view doctrine. Same way as if he was walking by the house and saw an expensive stereo through the window, he wasn't allowed to just straight up go into the house and seize it. He was supposed to develop probable cause and then get a warrant in order to seize that item.
We hold that probable cause is required for search of an object that lawfully comes within a police officer's plain view, just as it would be required for its seizure. And we hold that the moving of the stereo equipment to expose to view what had been concealed constituted a search.
And one of the dissenters tried to explain that this was not a full-blown search.
We reject the concept of some third category of police action between search and non-search, which can be justified on a basis less than probable cause.
Justice Scalia ends the opinion by reminding us that there is nothing new in the realization that the Constitution sometimes insulates the criminality of a few in order to protect the privacy of us all. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so next time I post, you'll be first to know.